Welcome everyone, Austeris here. Today we're talking about warder build, bleeding blade arc with soldier shaman classes combined. The build that concentrating on the health regen, on the face tank, with a shield, that giving you that additional tankiness. What are you gonna be saying? The bleed performing exceptionally well in 99.9% of all content. Right before the bosses celestial boss fights with Caligadra, Ravager, Mogodren, and Crate. We kill all of Zeus. But there's one change to the build required in order to fight them. You can basically, what we learned from this fight, you can face tank either the Celestials, even with this build, heavily concentrating on face tanking with all this Aurigard, with all of this damage absorption from Menhir Bulwark plus Menhir Bastion. Our best attempt with face tanking like this, continuously attacking with the Blade Arc, was with Mogodren. We dropped the Mogodren to 10 millions, and then my health was bouncing here and there. That additional 30% of thunder damage did play its role, because in the end result is kill me. So before, if you play this build in before this 1.2.1 patch, the current patch, we'll be able to kill Mogodren by face tank and stay in one place. But that additional thunder damage just led me to a moment that I just didn't take enough. Same goes with a Ravager. We put him to half of the health by more or less face tanking. The Ravager was a problem. My mana was problem with fighting this build. Fighting Ravager, he's zapping your mana in alarming rate, so we can stay in one place. I need to move a little bit here and there. I can stay in the blood pool. And Caligadra just erased me right away when I tried to face tanking. Then we switched to Clean Sweep, give the cooldown to Blade Arc, increasing his bleeding damage overall. And all of the Celestials fight and a great boss was such a walk in the park. So we kill all of them. Very chill fights. The build taking one hit there, here and there, it doesn't really matter because of my health regen and total survivability. So we just walk in, hitting every 4 seconds, applying resistance reduction periodically, and that's all. It's very chill fights with Celestials. So yeah, that's a short overview what the build can do. So we're going to be talking about here how to build this build from 0 to hero, early game, mid game, late game, what kind of items, monster and frequently want in those phases, what kind of skills you want, what works, what doesn't work. Then we're gonna be showing a little bit of demonstration Shattered Realm for the build. So majority of the game, like I say, we played with Blade Arc without cooldown, right? 99.9% of the time. Only Celestial bosses require cooldown for a smooth sailing there. It's a minor inconvenience, but yeah, like my personal opinion on this current patch is like the worst patch there ever been. But still we are persevering with trying to do our best. We're also going to talk about skill constellations and weapons, basically constellation-based weapons. Like there was Scorpion Bludgeon, for example, for this build, which is doing more bleeding damage than my current weapon, but my current weapon can it's X type of weapon, which is can proc the enable the Berserker constellation. We're gonna cover those points, and that's all and more that you can learn here watching this video. So let's go. First of starting with demonstration. Demonstration in the Shattered Realm. Again, with Blade Arc without a cooldown. Okay, we didn't craft the stone, right? We didn't craft the stone. That was why I can jump.
The best I can with what I've got.
So we started with the crafting, the Celestial Waystone. The Celestial Waystone. That's the right one.
The Shattered Realm.
before we begin,
Splendid.
offer to level 65. And here we go, like. So the build there, we tested the face tankiness of the build. We'll try to anger all the bosses so we can. Okay, that's a good test of the face tankiness. Starting with those guys. The build have quite a good offensive, quite a good DPS. So it's reaching 240k still right now. It's starting with 140k DPS, but the moment we kill something, we get in some buff and stuff. It's just like 240. So pretty good in cleaning just normal mobs. Definitely not as fast as my Eye of the Reckoning build with 500,000 in DPS, but really good because of survivability just on another level. Because say we just staying here periodically, casting resistance reduction with the Varian Swarm, and we're killing those guys just fast enough. And we have good tanking abilities here. Again, celestial fights that we had a problem with. And also we had a problem with reaching resistances, getting all the major resistances on this build. We compensated with the powders and stuff. And for Mogadren fight, we actually needed to go and craft the Storm Shroud ointment for the additional 30% lightning resistance, because otherwise that was too much of a damage. Alright, my lightning resistance 53 already maximum, and that wasn't enough for Mogadren fight. Yeah, we're killing the stuff, but we're not killing it that fast, in my opinion. Okay, there is some Nemesis here. Let's go and say hello to Nemesis. It's a Chupacabra. Chupacabra have a lot of bleeding resistance, so it's not the best fight for this guy. Meaning we gonna take my sweet time killing him. On the other hand, my health not moving fighting this guy. Yeah, we're just not moving with my health at all. Let's go and pull some more monsters to the fray, because we still need to kill more with this Chupacabra fight.
That skill's not ready.
I'm not even pressing over God here for more face tankiness and more health leash. We're just dealing perfectly fine with this, like it is. Perfectly like, oh my god. Bringing him here was a mistake, is it? That some fool just went and healed him. Okay, that was bad. Like I say, the Chupacabra is the worst matchup here. I think it's the guy with the highest bleeding resistance, is it?
That skill's not ready.
Like Ravager, Caligadra, and all the other Celestial have 94% physical resistance. We can reduce enemy resistances by 96%, right? If everything aligned itself well, we have minus 96% resistance reduction on this build, which is more than enough for, you know, fighting everything.
Not ready.
Okay, 5 minutes here. 5 minutes. All this like come on, I want to open the chest, dudes. Just want to open the chest. You're in my way. Didn't open all of them. Okay, there's another one opened.
That skill's not ready.
Go heat, so like literally not taking any damage right here. So what we're gonna do now here, testing the face tankiness. We're gonna go and grab all the bosses over here. Those guys are really dangerous if like they're gathering all together like this. So I do need to use Overguard here.
That skill's not ready.
Yeah, they're actually very dangerous. It's actually very dangerous here. I don't have like Oregard. Okay, Oregard. There we go. No Oregard. No Oregard. Bastion. But yeah, more or less like 95% of the time we just were staying there and tanking those guys. So yeah, the build featuring a lot of survivability. It's enough for all the content except like a Celestials. It's enough for all.
Well done.
Didn't even try to face tank the Great Boss, but like I say, we just switched the Blade Arc to cooldown build, and we didn't need to face tank the Great. We just killed him with a bleed, really relatively easy. Well, all the links to my fight with the Celestials and the Great Boss, all the stream when we're fighting and we're contemplating about the build, they should be like down there in the video description, so check that out if you're interested. I probably will have the separate video for Great Boss fight somewhere on my YouTube channel on the boss fight sections as well. So there you go. There was a demonstration, a little bit slow on the slower part of the DPS, right? 138 DPS here, right? With 40k bleeding and 16k physical. Physical damage is the problem for this build right now, because we don't have any physical resistance at all. But we can like completely read the physical damage out of this. When we switch into cooldown version, the bleeding damage going up to 100k, and it's like really with the duration of what it's like 10 seconds or more. Right, let's check the stats. And then we're gonna talking about early games, what to do early game before end game, what kind of items to use and stuff. But yeah, the stats. A lot of health, 21k health over here. Offensive ability 2800, which is enough for everything against except Celestials. Alright, and Shattered Realms, but we compensated and unlock this offensive ability with a proc of Fighting Spirit. Right, it's minus plus 280 offensive ability there. And we also have a Mogodran Howl over here, which is reducing enemy defensive ability at the same time, which is making me critting more or less consistently. Right, defensive ability is also kind of low for Celestials fight, very low. If you really want to face tank with this build, we need like 3500, considering all this defensive ability reduction the Celestial can provide. However, it's more than enough for anything else than Celestials. More than enough. Like 2600 is actually enough. We have a little more than that. And again, we're buffing this defensive ability with some skills, constellations when we get in hit. Armor rating, very good, 98 absorption, but armor rating of 3100, one of the highest armor rating builds we played in a while. And we have 35 bleeding physical resistance at the same time. So I was talking, this build has a problem with getting those resistances to 80. Like you see, physical poison acid resistance barely over the maximum 3%. Same goes for ether and chaos resistance. So we do our vitality, bleeding, elemental more or less enough. Elemental lightning resistance you need to buff with Storm's Shroud to fight the Mogodran. Next up, what we are looking here is Health Regen. Health Regen with a normal default mod is 2200 more or less. When we get in all the buff, all the skills are proc, it's around 10k, which is really good here. It has a little bit of energy absorption, so this build had a huge energy problem, you know, energy regen problem. We're gonna be talking about this a little bit, but What we've done in a late game, we put 2 pieces of Arcane Spark with Energy Leech, and it's enough to fight solo bosses and the group. When you fight in a group of minions, you didn't even like solo my energy bar moving that much, so I never used my potion. When you fight in solo, solo guys also like energy regen just barely, and leech just barely enough to keep you there, but periodically you may be using a health or energy potion there. So now, right now in this version of the build, we don't have problem with the energy, except if you face Tank and Ravager, that is. Bleeding damage and bleeding buffs, bleeding modifier, not the biggest one, 2400 only. It's obviously growing up when we get in buffs, right? If we just go and hit some training diamonds over here. We need a spirit, okay, battle spirit. So like 3k over there. We can't get the battle spirit because we're not taking damage. So let's go in over the 3k very fast. And bleeding duration all more than 3k, 300% over. So like the bleeding duration of my bleed FX blade arc is approaching 10 seconds when you apply in blade arc once. Pretty good in my opinion. Lifesteal is another big thing about survivability of this build. 21% just lifesteal, right? But we also having like 10% of attack damage converted to health from a blade arc skill, right? And did we have another one here? I don't think we did. So that's a lot of lifesteal, and all of this just supporting your build. Pretty good if you ask me. And secondary resistances, chance to block 50%, block damage 1400, but it's obviously going up with our guard, 3576% block recovery, so we're blocking very more often. Leash resistance non-existent, but stun resistance 80. Disruption resistance 60, we don't care about. Resistance also X80, and petrify resistance non-existent, which is sometimes in the crate boss fight I got petrified, but that didn't like lead to my death or anything. Alright, so that's the stats. We did die on this build because we were experimented with the face tanking, right, the Celestials with the current version, and how we playing the build overall, we starting always on ultimate difficulty, so it's all this minus resistances, and we play in solo self-found up until level 94, when you're trying to getting some items on 94 from my Grimdawn stash, but before that is solo self-found. So what we found, we played with that, meaning like our build are suboptimal and prone to dying to some stuff if I'm not careful enough, and I'm often not careful enough. Greatest damage deal, 366k was there. It's probably against Great Boss, because before this was 281k. Not bad actually. And with that, that's like we're done with overviewing the stats for the build. Early game. So unlike the previous build we played, when I was like complaining there's no much of a monster and frequent to go early game, this build have a lot of monster and frequent you can farm, and you would need periodically farm in early game. So what I generally recommend for starting with, there was 2 monster and frequent that can proc your blade arc. Alright, the Scorpion Bludgeon, which we were planning to play with in endgame, but decided that Scion of Crimson Wakes is just better weapon with that additional -10 bleeding resistance for a build. And there is also a Sunclaw Slicer. This is what we were going early game actually, Sunclaw Slicer, because early game you don't have that much of bleeding damage, you don't have much of bleeding resistance, right? And generally it's better to use physical damage, alright, a little bit bleeding and a little bit more physical damage. And those monster infrequently going to be gathering, giving you a lot of physical damage to your blade arc. It's also careful that attack damage converted to health, so you are covered in terms of survivability early on as well. If you're playing this build on normal difficulty, it's a tremendous survivability just having this 6% additional attack damage from blade arc converted to health, but you're getting like way more than this. So Sunclaw Slicer, where to get them? You can get them in Forgotten Ghost DLC, just killing as a Sunclaws, or there's even easy way to get them. So if you have access to merits, right? After you kill the Celestials, after you kill the Celestials,
I'll give you a good
not
price on what I've
Celestials,
got
have to
left.
finish the game on Ultimate difficulty or on Elite difficulty. You can get this access to the Saber Merits for the Ultimate difficulty. Right, we actually need to replenish them here. And just clicking on them, you just automatically unlock an Ultimate difficulty from normal, giving you all the bags, all the attribute skill points you can learn from a quest in a previous 2 difficulties.
Iron
That's how we
Will
jump
Defend.
into Ultimate difficulty, basically. So if you have those merits, right,
Got something you need stashed?
you activate them, you go into normal difficulty,
I'll keep an eye out.
Lost Oasis, right, and you jump in Tomb of the Heretic Skeleton Key dungeon, and there's a merchant right before the end game boss. There's a merchant that's selling these slicers slicers and scorpion bludgeons you can buy from that merchant if you don't want to farm that the Sunclaws raptors. But you can farm them easily enough, right? So you just defeat them. If you're playing normal without any waystones or anything, you need to kill a warden in order to finish the first act. All right, kill the warden. Then you can get access to this Forgotten Ghost DLC. You jump in Forgotten Ghost DLC and can start farming for the slicers right there. Okay, that's one item that you wanted in your early version of the build. Another one is a Kalika's Harvest Shield, right? So it's giving you bleeding damage to your blade arc, attack damage to health to blade arc, and well, it's a shield providing additional survivability for you. Shield also providing physical resistance. Pretty good to have early game. You can farm it from in Eastern Marsh. It's a guaranteed drop from a boss. So after the Burrowage Village to the right side of Burrowage Village, there is the Eastern Marsh here. You need to clear a barricade and rebuild the breach. And near this shrine, you won't have a shrine on normal, I believe, will you? But there is a boss like on a pinnacle of the mountain, and the dog, right? You kill the dog, you get the monster frequent from him. Next monster frequent you want, it's the Kronly Signet. The Kronly Gang Signet. It's dropping from. Okay, let me actually check from where it was dropping from. I forgot. It's before the Kronly bosses, right? So you want to check the database. It's just have a blade arc on it. Does it? You have a blade arc laceration. Laceration. So another tip from me. Grim Dawn Tools. Grim Dawn Tools is a great site to check out your builds, to check out your items, to check out the monsters you're fighting against, like Celestials and stuff. I'm always using it for planning my builds. So you can basically see. So it's dropping from Darius Kronly. Okay, I mean it's called Kronly, right? So the boss in the well. You'll get eventually too. In the Kronly's hideouts, you can even check it on the map here where he is. Right, this place, Darius Kronly, a major boss for the game, for a main quest at least. So you probably want to get this signet for just laceration, more damage for your blade arc, Alternatively, you can get something like Legion War Seal, right? More physical damage here, and Counter Strike, which is good for the build as well. So you can get both of those rings from okay, Legion Reputation ring. There's also a ring from Devil's Crossing, right? Devil's Crossing also have level 35 ring, the blue ring that you also can get to trade for your reputation there. That's another item. I didn't actually use the Chromnir for my build. I didn't use that ring, I just used random rings for my resistances on ultimate difficulty. But that's because we played on ultimate. Balthazar Crest. Again, you can check when you can get it in Grim Dawn Tools. So it's 100. It's a physical damage to Blade Arc. And plus 3 to laceration and more physical damage. So you want to farm it. It's a great medal to get up until late game. And there's the stink over here. But what you want else there for amulet, you want Megara Fang. Megara Fang plus 1 to soldier, and other physical damage to Blade Arc, physical damage to Mogadren Pact, which is you have both of those. And that's another thing you need to farm. So with rings with a medal and Megara Fangs, you can keep this one on lower levels, as low as possible. Well, you don't really care about going and farming them when you get into higher levels, but with the weapons and the shield, you want to periodically farm them, right, to increase that basic physical damage and stats and blocking chance. You periodically want to go and farm them again and again when you get in, like, for example, to level 50, to level to 60, level 74, level 84, those kind of levels. You want to refarm them again and again. And also think about this build you can do early on is Wasteguard, Devil's Crossing Wasteguard, right? It's level 35, level 35 belts, level 50 belts, and level 70 belts. So you can craft them. Devil's Court, like Devil's Griddle, and Devil's Swellsguard. You can craft them very easily if you have a recipe, and recipe you can get from Reputation faction, if I do believe correctly. Right, what else early game you can use for this build, apart from the belts? That's more or less covered everything. I think that's more or less covered everything. Okay, Relic. So Relic up until end game, I prefer Juggernaut, right? So you see we have a defensive Relic here as Menhir Bastion, but I was running with the Juggernaut. You can craft it starting from level 35, and it's a great relic to have for your survivability and for your offensive ability, plus 1 to soldier skills. So it's running it up until a late game, right up until level 94. And then we replace it with Menhir Bastion. Skill-wise, early game, you want. So for me as ultimate difficulty, first of all we jump in and grab the Blade Arc. Obviously, it's the main damage skills. We're playing it without cooldown. However, be careful with the Blade Arc. It's very mana hungry skill. Just if you get a Blade Arc, soft cap and laceration, oh my god, like how much mana is consuming. So early game, I want to have all this ectoplasm on my rings. I want to have all the ectoplasm on the rings, as many ectoplasm as possible. There's ectoplasm here, so we put in a rings ectoplasm, we put in amulets ectoplasm, we put in metal ectoplasm. That's gonna provide you with in conjunction with using your potion on cooldown, that provided enough mana to just persevere through that. Later on, when you jump into Shaman, Mogadren Pact also provided some energy regen, and this is a great boost to your energy regen as well. Right, so we can maybe can go parallel with this, getting some blade arc and put in more points into Mogadon Pact to balance that energy consumption. For me, it was important to get a field command for offensive ability on ultimate difficulty. Not sure it will be right for you on normal. Right, 1 point into Counter Strike would be good. You don't need that much of overguard to begin with early on, so 1 point should be enough as well for extra health leech. I did went a lot in veterancy for health leech early on, health regen, as I say, health regen, veterancy, and then we climbed the soldier tree to get the manufactured bulwark for that additional damage absorption and more like health regen as well. So that's provided me an easy early game. Another thing about early game that I didn't done, but I do recommend it for you to do. Right, you see we have War Cry and 1 skill points there, and we have Terrifying here. Terrifying, this is like giving me that 18 reduction to target resistances. But because before level 94, your main damage will be physical damage, instead of Terrifying 3 points, you won't actually max out Break Morale. So you're reducing enemy physical resistance more, and then you're gonna get maximum out of your build. Also, a lot of people that play in a soldier want to put 1 point at least into Blitz, so it's giving you that mobility. With me, I'm using always like the Rift Tier and Evade as mobility skills, so I don't feel like I need anything else, but there's definitely additional mobility with Blitz. Additional skill to press. You don't have many of skills to press in this build to begin with, so you definitely can fit it when you want it. So 1 point in the Blitz is also recommended to have. Alright, Shaman. Obviously, we don't care much about Devouring Swarm early on because we will not doing that much of bleeding damage. But later on, you want the Devouring Swarm. Like I say, earlier on you care about Mogadon Pact, that's the only thing from Shaman you care about of. Right, you see we also don't have like Wendigo Totems for health regen, which is, would help a little bit with face tanking. But we decided not to put any points into there. So that's early on things. Another stuff I want to tell you about early on game. You want to get to rend as fast as possible, so you getting this additional -32 bleeding resistance and start to level up the rend skill as early as possible, so preparing yourself to late game. That's all. Late game. What kind of a gear are we using on this build? Let's see. So again, there's only one monster infrequent we're using on this build. Is Calica's Harvest Shield. I didn't roll any good affixes with this one, over lots of barricades, so it's giving me a lot of physical resistance, 50% physical resistance. But I didn't roll like offensive ability that we wanted, right? Not aggressive or aggressive affix or anything. So you can basically farm this a lot until you satisfied your like your curiosity, your need, right? So we needed here Ether resistance and we needed here Chaos resistance. I also was trying to get any Ether or Chaos resistance rolls on the shield. I didn't get lucky, but I didn't like farm it for that long. So that's the first item we're using here. Seal of Blades. We're using as the component. It's additional 5% damage attack leech, right? 50% bleeding damage, 30% flat bleeding, alright. We also have Whirlwind Blades, which is piercing resistance, armor, and, well, bleeding to anything that get like 5 meters radius to you, bleeding damage. As a component, as a powder for weapon and the shield I used in early in favor, it's a Black Legion augment. It's not much of the bleeding damage, but it's also giving me the piercing resistance, so I'm piercing resistance over 56. We don't have like that much of good bleeding damage powder. Right, there's couple. I decided to go with Legion powder for that 10% for a chance for 200 to all damage. If that's proc with my bleeding, it's a huge boost. Set we're using the Blood Rage set. The Blood Rage, Endless Frenzy, 4 pieces of the set. Attack speed. So attack speed is something else we haven't talked about it, but we have. Let's see. Pretty decent attack speed, 156% without buffs. When you're buffing this, getting all the buffs applied is maximum 200% attack speed, so there's no problem with that. So Mystical Blood Rage Cowl, +1 to Shaman, bleeding damage to Savagery, which you don't really care about that. But it's have Blood Frenzy, right? Normal enemy dying, restoring my health, getting more bleeding damage, more health regen, more attack speed. There's a buff. The set bonus is giving me a bleeding damage to Blade Arc. More bleeding damage to Blade Arc. Yes, I'll take in. 3 pieces giving me physical resistance. And it's also giving a Blood Rager ability. Right, so a chance on critical. Not happening that much with Celestial fights, but happening pretty often with fighting normal stuff. More bleeding damage, more attack speed. Right, we haven't Sanctified Bond here for Chaos Vitality Resistance. And Vitality Resistance, Ether Resistance powder. It's just like my Vitality Resistance is 22 over the maximum. Alright, Shoulder Pots. Shoulder Pots, attack damage converted to health. That's why we're having this 21% life leech. Blade Arc. We have a lot of skill plus in Blade Arcs. So make sure after you get all these sets, go to your... Go to any of the mystic spiritual guides and remove the excessive points from Blade Arc. In the current patch and the previous patch, they show in red the skills that have excessive skills, right? That are over the hard cap. Next, we have the Blood Rage Court, the part of the set. We have in here the Titan Platin. For that prisoner resistance and reflection damage reduction. So I saw this build, I was feared this build would have a problem with damage reflection, right? As we had with my Eye of the Reckoning build. So we have also 50% reflection reduction here. Where's the stats? 48% reflection resistance. No problem here, no problem. My health regen, my health leech, allowing me to... And that 48% resistance reduction allowed me to just attack the guys with the reflection shield without taking any damage in return. Basically, my health's not moving there. So, and the last piece, that's last piece here is Blood Rage Gem, +1 to Soldier, more bleeding damage to Blade Arc, and we have an Arcane Spark from here for that energy leech. Late game and offensive ability. So like late game we have no problem with my energy regen whatsoever in this build. 2 arcane sparks, mark of consumption. That's you can craft this if you have a recipe. More bleeding damage to Blade Arc, another damage health converted to health on the Blade Arc, right? So we have 10% over here, I have 8% over here, and 21 health leech, life leech. So it's a lot of health leech. Right, so we're using what else we have? All my javelins and rings we're using the Survivor's Ingenuity. They will cross in rare augments. 20% more all damage and 2% offensive ability. There's another augment you can use here that's giving you like 50% bleeding damage and +2 to offensive, but you jeopardizing your offensive ability even further. So you can maximize this offensive for, well, you actually, like I say, you're actually okay with 27 or 26 defensive ability. So you can go and use that augment. I think it's augment from Malmoth Resistance, I believe.
Got something you need stashed?
Let's see if you have it here. Bleeding damage, bleeding. Let's see. Malmoth Resistance, okay, so 50% bleeding damage and 2% offensive ability. You can use this for maximizes your bleeding damage even further. But I prefer this Devil Crossing one, which is quite rare for me to use it. Rings. For the rings we have in Blue Rings set, the Wanton Carnage, 2 pieces, more attack speed, more laceration, more bleeding damage and duration to bleeding damage, right? With 2 pieces of a set here, more offensive ability. So there's a couple of other rings you can play with here. Like I say, the Kronis ring, which is a good affixes, could be good to begin with, and you can easily farm it. There are some other rings that can be easily farmed. Some of them I didn't even had to begin with, but like the Jackson's Lucky Bullet, right? That's one of the rings that provide any offensive ability, so we can play it with this. There's some Magi rings from Court of the Magi in Skeleton King Dungeon of oh my god, Forgotten Ghost DLC, right? I mean, the one we talked before, Los Oasis, basically. So there's like some rings that drop in from Magi, from first boss in that area. Also, I haven't talked about the enough about Blade Rage Frenzy, right? So how to get this, right? How to faster farm this set. You just need a recipe for a helmet. If you have a recipe for a helmet, you can craft 4 helmets and use
I sense turmoil.
in the inventor.
Let's see what
There's
we
a
can put
transmute tab, which is you can open either in but completing the quest in Forgotten Ghost DLC, or you can if you have the Crucible DLC, you can go to Crucible and the inventor there will have transmute ability by default, so you can put the gear here and you can transmute to other piece of the set, of the same set that you have.
safe out there.
How easy is to farm the set here? Right. What else here? Artifact, relic, Manhur Bastion for more survivability for me. Shield block chance, +1 to soldiers, but you can go more bleeding damage for you here at this point. It doesn't really matter. +1 to soldier. There's a couple of good relics. Make sure it's the one giving you +1 to soldier, because it's huge. Soldier is your main class over here, and giving one just +1 to a soldier from something is just additionally +50 or 16 points into skills you have. Belt, we have Chains of Orleans here, right? +1 to soldier again, some bleeding damage, right? So we replace it, but if you get lucky enough and get 2 affixes and 2 good affixes on craftable belt, you can as well run with that. Pants is Barbarous Chaucer's, basically for offensive ability. 136 offensive ability, health regen, some physical resistance, and it has a battle cry, so it's another skill that can boost your damage in a further, 25% chance to proc when you get hit, and 150 additional damage for 10 seconds, and total speed. So it's a great stuff to have. It's a great stuff to have. Right, boots. I decided to go with Storm Titan Trance again for my resistances, right? Like poison acid resistance this time around, because we were lacking. So I sacrifice. There was no boots here for offensive ability, was it? So there's 2 boots we were contemplating for
Got
this
something you
build.
need stashed.
Let's see. That's the one. This one over here, the Windshare Greaves, which is giving you defensive ability. But well, it's also have poison resistance. So we contemplated between 2 of this. Okay, so this one is just having more armor value. That's why I choose them. But the Windshare, to get an additional defensive ability, not going to be helping that much with celestial fights again, because you need, like I say, 3500 to guarantee, almost not guarantee not to get crit. But yeah, that's like another defensive option for you. Right, weapon is Sign of Crimson Wake. Bleeding damage to Devouring Swarm, but more importantly, minus bleeding resistance for Devouring Swarm. Combining all these minus resistances we had, we can reduce enemy resistances by minus 96%. Not that big compared to other builds, but that's enough to fight Celestials. And especially this one is good to fight Celestials because it's providing additional minus 10 to Devouring Swarm, and Devouring Swarm that's something minus bleeding resistance, something I can get like guaranteed to hit Celestials. So we have a proc, the Blade Arc has a proc of Rend, 20 chance on attack, right? But when the Rend go in, it's more than 20, is it? No, it's 20 chance on attack. But when the Rend go in to have cooldown, it will have like 68% chance of something proc. However, it's still a chance, right? Devouring Swarm is guaranteed proc, and it's also proccing a Mogadren Wolf sometimes, so that's why it's, this X is just generally better than a good Scorpion's Bludgeon with good like bleeding affixes here in late game. Lastly, the gloves. The gloves I went with Grasp of Unchained Might. More bleeding damage, attack speed, plus 2 to Blade Arc, more weapon damage to Blade Arc, and Eternal Trauma to Blade Arc. So I don't care about the Eternal Trauma. 20% of weapon damage to Blade Arc is good enough because, while Blade Arc have a lot of weapon damage, 225%, and if your skill have main hand weapon damage in it, meaning he actually benefited him from that global life leech you have, right? Not from life skill life leech like if you have it on the shield, for example, 10% of attack damage converted to Blade Arc, but this life leech over here, if a skill have that, is benefited from life leech. And we have here Blade Platinum on this as a component, alright, and the gloves, just to get in that additional offensive ability, yeah? Alright, and for boots we get a Mogadren Mark. Didn't mention that, did I? So let's cover the gear. Next point to make here is skills, and then we're gonna go into constellation. Like I talked before, main class for this warden build is soldier. I am trying to build as tanky as possible with a lot of health leech and health regen. And because we go in a shield, we have Overguard, very important skill here with Markovian defense procced, so we can more survivability even. We have the shield training, right? Not a hard cap. This could be like 1 point over there. So minus shield recovery and block chance. We have military condition for more physique, more health. We have veterancy, like I say, that skill we started early on with, so getting that health regen. Alright, veterancy. Also about early on game that I forgot to mention, you want to get decorated soldier higher than it's currently. We did remove some points in end game from decorated soldier. Probably can remove everything from this, but get elemental resistance from it as well. Scars of Battles, bleeding resistance, increased armor absorption, right? Field command, squad tactics for more attack speed, damage reroll. Menhir Bulwark over here, right? Physical damage, absorption, health regen. Physical damage would need before late game, correspondingly, and main damage and skill Blade Arc. With laceration, right? Maybe this build will work as a tankish build, would work better with blitz for sure. Like I say, we don't have a blitz over here as mobility skill, but I do recommend it to take here additional mobility skills, especially because you have a lot of free space to put the skills, right? Not much of the skills here we use in. Speaking of which, the mainly brass units from item. Anyway, this is a Blade Arc build, so obviously we just for my principle, I'm not using a blitz, but you can have 1 point on that for sure. Fighting spirit, very important. for that boost of offensive ability later on, especially. So we can guarantee crit for more as well. And Warcry was terrified in late game for the additional 18 reduction, right? So, and don't forget about Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike, just anyone hitting you, 25% chance to activate it, and they get in retaliation a damage of a little bit of bleeding, like 7k bleeding. Okay, I'll take it. 1 point, sure. Mogadrin Pact for Shaman, Heart of the Wild, Orc Skin. You can put more points into Orc Skin for more like defensive options, right? More armor, right? And late game Devouring Swarm, that's important. It's minus 35% bleeding resistance and additional 10% with my axe, right? So it's all leading to minus 45 bleeding resistance. You also can put 1 point to the Wendigo Totem, removing it from like I don't know, from a Heart of the Wild, for example, from a veteran, from this decorative soldier, right? You're gonna be removing decorated soldier points. So there's 2 points over here, 3 points, 2 points in decorated soldier, and you can put that 1 into that Wendigo Totem, and you can level up the Orc Skin a little bit higher. Anyway. So this minus 45 resistance reduction, providing with 32 bleeding resistances over here, plus 18 here. So Terrifying and Rend giving you 15, right? And Shaman giving you that additional 45, so it's making 95% minus 95 bleeding resistance. We're missing 1 point over here, so it was minus 46%, in general minus 46, minus 96% bleeding resistance overall. Good enough to fight Celestials, and great. That's all the skills. Next stop, devotions. Devotions, and like I said before, it's very important to get this Huntress and to start leveling up Rend early on. So what you need for affinity here? You need Ascendance, you need the Chaos, and you need Eldritch. Alright, and for this we went into Night Talon early on. Alright, the Lizard. Obviously we removing some points from a Crossroads. It's already like optimized constellation here. So Talon, Fox, some Crossroads, so they're gonna enable you to get the Hunters there. Enable to get the Hunters. Now the important constellation is mid-game, early game is Carrot of the Dead. Carrot of the Dead is providing you with Wayward Souls, health restoration, defensive ability, armor. I just literally play in every of my builds right now with Wayward Swords with the Carrion constellation. It's literally everything. It's so good in ultimate difficulty, and probably will be good for you on if you play in a hardcore for this build. Right. Next, what we have is Lizard for health regen and getting this Primordial, so I can get the Behemoth. Behemoth constellation, like I see, we didn't finish it because I benefited. It's giving the same bonuses as the Berserker. Alright, so we're removing some health regen over here. What we need here is Giant Blood. Giant Blood for more survivability, more health regen. And then Berserker, we wanted this additional offensive ability out of it. So that's why I finished the Berserker and the bleeding damage for my bleeding damage, like physical resistance health leash as well over here. So that's another reason we're using this Scion of the Crimson Wake instead of the Scorpion Bludgeon, because it's an axe as well as a slicer, right? But it's better axe than slicer. Better axe than slicer, and it's enable you to use the Berserker constellation. All the benefits of this Berserker constellation, which is huge offensive ability boost and a decent amount of bleeding duration, bleeding damage overall. Lastly, what we have is here is Mogadran Wolf. have Mogadron Wolf here. And Mogadron Howl. We didn't max it out. Didn't have enough time to max it out, this constellation. Like almost there, but not really. When it's buffing, it's minus enemy defensive ability, meaning we're critting for more. More health regeneration for me, more bleeding damage, more attack speed for me. Right, in order to get this constellation, however, we need to put points into Throne and into Owl. Right, so it's like kind of constellation that we need to deal with. The Owl, however, giving you this duration, right? 50% bleeding damage is 15 increased duration, so it's not entirely wasteful, and it's providing also with some of damage, some of the resistances, right? Piercing resistance, Ether resistance, Chaos resistance, and we struggle with Ether and Chaos resistance on this build. And last constellation, we also haven't been finished yet, but it's a Ghoul constellation with the Ghoulish Hunger. 100% chance on my health dropping to 45%, getting this, again, huge health leech, a little bit of health regen, and more physical resistance boosts. So good for Shattered Realm. Good for Shattered Realm for sure. Right, guys, that's all the constellations. That's all there to talk about the build. I'm disappointed about the build. Could not face tank in a face tanking mode the Celestials, but when we switch it to that cooldown on the Blade Arc, the Celestial fight was so easy. Like, it was literally a walk in the park. Again, check it out. The link below in a YouTube description. It should like link into this current stream when we fight in the Celestials and the great boss with this build. But build overall is performing exceptionally well in every scene. There's a little bit of modification, like I said, to skill if to fight the Celestials, but everything else, like Shattered Realm, Korvac. The only problem I have with the build, maybe, it's a DPS, right? It's going up to 240k with the buffs, but it's on the lower side, especially compared to my Eye of the Reckoning build. So the DPS on the lower side, but we know for sure that nothing gonna be like killing us. Yeah, nothing just gonna kill us. We can face tank from a sun. All the bosses I killed before Celestials, I face tanked them through the thunder damage. Like, just I was staying in one place and face tanking. The first problem with the face tanking we met, it was the locker fight. So he's dealing this huge thunder damage as well, and huge damage. So like 5% of the time, 95% of the time we were staying in one place, but there was a time that I need to run a little bit to get my overguard out of cooldown, so I can face tank more. So that's the locker was a problem for just staying in one place and face tanking, but he wasn't good enough to kill me. Anyway, that's all, guys. Thank you very much for joining me here. I really do appreciate if you put that follow for YouTube channel. We are struggling here financially, and I just struggling to pay my bills. To pay my bills. We just need that. If you have a means to support, I really do appreciate it if you can. If you don't, just following me on YouTube channel or well on Twitch channel as well would greatly benefit me. Just watching. So on YouTube channel, we're trying to reach this 1,000 viewers, so get access to monetization and ads. So that's gonna help me greatly with paying my bills. Alright, so I appreciate it. It's Supreme Intelligence. If you're watching it on Twitch right now, the YouTube channel is Supreme Intelligence. Right, so greatly appreciated you've been here, greatly appreciated watching. We're done with this Grim Dawn build. We need a couple of days